Welcome to Tally on Wheels, the best cloud-based audit automation tool available for finance professionals like chartered accountants, tax practitioners, and accountants. With Tally on Wheels, you can reduce your audit process time by up to 90% compared to traditional way of auditing. Scrutinize the ledgers and generate analysis reports with a list of anomalies even before you start an audit. This will give you precise insight into the books of accounts so that you can plan your focus areas for the audit and save time and resources. Generate statements like revised Schedule 3 financials auto-linked with trial balance, T-format balance sheet, cost center analysis, detailed annexure of vendor-wise incomes and expenses, multi-entity consolidation, and much more in a few clicks. You can also generate and customize MIS reports effortlessly within seconds and ensure extraordinary experience for your clients. What's more, we are coming up with features like generating integrated working papers for 3CD, GSTR 9 and 9C, reconciliation of tedious returns filed versus books of accounts, and much more to save your time and effort. Are you excited to get rid of these manual tasks and go further in your professional journey as techno-finance professional? Register into Tally on Wheels today.
Welcome to GST Zen. Our user-friendly software will simplify your compliance with GST so that you can focus on your business. GST Zen's dashboard provides a quick status of your business's finances and compliance. Maintain your purchase and sales registers directly in GST Zen or by importing from your existing software. Prepare and print invoices and hand them over to your customer. GST Zen will automatically upload these invoices to the government and you don't have to do extra work. If your vendor invoice is different from the government's records, GST Zen highlights them and you can correct it. This is important to receive proper input tax credit. Finally, GST Zen prepares your returns and you can file it in one click with your digital signature. Visit www.gstzen.in and sign up. GST Zen also offers full back office service for GST compliance. To get in touch.
Okay, welcome you all for today's webinar on GST and the tech updates. In fact, every month we conduct this session to enhance the knowledge of all the finance professionals, both in the subject of indirect taxes, GST, and the technology where we update on Excel and Power BI, Power Queries, and other related functions. And today with me, I have my colleagues Ashika Agarwal, Jagadish, who would be taking up the first part of today's session, which is more to do with the GST. Then we will have the second part of the session, which is on technology, which would be presented by Tarun. And friends, this being a continuous sessions that we are having, so there is some amount of the knowledge which would be carried from the previous sessions. For those who are joining for the first time, or if you have not attended the earlier session, if you find some connection is missing, please feel free to interrupt and ask your questions. All the questions would be answered through the chat as the session goes up. And in between, you will also have an opportunity to unmute yourself and ask the question. Lastly, I would always tell people that use technology to simplify your thing and get updated so that you do not have fear of the law that whether you are not compliant. Today, GST law has become complex compared to while it was on 1st July 2017, where people think GST means it's just the change from service tax to VAT, there's a change in the GST rate. However, with the kind of notifications that are coming, circulars that are coming, interpretations that are coming, it's very important that we stand updated. Especially the non-compliance of the law. When you are not doing e-way bill on time, we know the penalties are huge. When taxes are not paid, and if the office department is assessing as that you have intentionally defrauding, the penalty is equivalent to the tax amount, and the interest thereon is 18% year over year, which means for 17-18, where the assessments and notices which are being issued today carry equal amount of the interest, which is otherwise the same thing. So it's very important that we always ensure that we are on the right side of the law, and whenever we are in doubt, we always have to reach to a consultant, get a second opinion, and ensure that what is being done is right. In the organization, there are teams that change. The employee who is filing the GST returns or who is handling the accounting would have got replaced with a new team who wouldn't be aware of the procedures which are there in the organization. It's also important that there is an external GST internal audit being conducted to everyone, just to ensure that there are no errors happening on the law side. On this note, I welcome you all to today's session and request to Jagadish to begin the session. Wherever, if I need to add something, I would be adding. And over to you, Jagadish.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. This is the agenda of today's session. First, we will discuss about the legal provisions with respect to the e-way bill, and then we'll discuss about the implication in case of non-compliance with the e-way bill provisions. And then in the last, we'll discuss about the practical issues with the judicial decisions. And then the last, we will have the Q&A session. First, we'll see legal provisions with respect to the e-way bill provisions. So the basic enabling provision, basic enabling section for inspection of the goods in the movement is section 68. Section 68 given power to the department to prescribe the documents which are required to be carried by the in charge of the conveyance. And also it has given power to verify those documents and inspect the conveyance. So only this much has given in the section 68. So as I said earlier, it is an enabling section which prescribe the required documents which are need to be carried by the in charge of the conveyance. So now coming to the rules. Rules with respect to the e-way bill provisions are provided in the chapter 16 of the CGST rules. Okay. So here rule 138, which is the important one. First, we'll have a brief view what are all the rules have provided with respect to the e-way bill. First thing is section 138, which talks about the what the information I require to furnish and the generation of the e-way bill. Coming to section 138A, which talks about the what are the documents that need to carry along with the conveyance. And 138B, rule 138B talks about the verification of the documents. And rule 138C, which talks about which provides the procedure for inspection and verification of the goods. Whereas rule 138D provides the facility to the transporter to upload the information the vehicle had detained for more than 30 minutes. I will discuss about this later in detail. And rule 138E, restriction of generation of e-way bill. That is blocking or unblocking of the e-way bill. And the new rule which has been notified this month only, that is from this rule is effective from the 4th August of this month. That is the rule 138F, that is e-way bill for the gold. Earlier, there is no requirement for generation of e-way bill for the gold, but from now, from 4th August of 2023, e-way bill is mandatorily required to be generated for movement of the gold. So I will discuss in detail about each of the rule in detail in the later slide. First, we'll see what is the rule 138. So rule 138, applicability of e-way bill provision. So who needs to generate the e-way bill, when to generate the e-way bill, what is the criteria to generate the e-way bill, and in what cases I need to generate the e-way bill. For all these questions, answer has provided in the rule 138. We'll see what is the rule 138 sub rule 1. It is saying that every registered person who causes the movement of the goods and whose consignment value is exceeding 50,000, and in the cases of supply other than the supply, and even in case of inward supply from an unregistered party, in all these cases, e-way bill generation is mandatory. So here, if you see the consignment value is more than 50,000, What is the consignment value here? See here, the consignment value includes the taxable value of goods as per the invoice. It includes the taxes also, but excluding value of exempted supply. Therefore, it includes both taxable value and taxes, but excluding exempted supply. In case in a single invoice, both taxable and exempted goods have been clubbed together. In that case, we have to exclude the value of exempted supply. After excluding of exempted supply, the consignment value is less than 50,000, then we no need to generate the bill. Otherwise, even after excluding the value of exempted supply of goods, if it exceeds 50,000, then bill is mandatorily required to be generated. So this is all about the consignment value. So we'll take a small example. So I bought a mobile, each mobile worth 40,000. Okay, and invoice also separately taken for 5 mobiles. Okay, in that case, whether do I need to generate the bill? Each mobile value is 40,000, and for each mobile, total 5 mobiles I bought, and invoice also separately raised for each of the mobile. So clubbed together, the value is 2 lakh, whereas individually it is 40,000. In this case, whether do I need to generate the bill for this? Please put your answers in the chat box. So here the answer is no. Yes, in this case, bill is not required because the consignment value of each invoice is less than 50,000. Therefore, bill is not required in these cases. So we'll take the another example. I am into the leasing business. I am sending generator set from Bangalore to Mysore, and rental value is 35,000, whereas the generator value is 5 lakh. In this case, do I need to raise the bill? Okay, yes. Yes. Here we have to see bill has to be raised for the movement of the goods, not for the supply of the services. And what value have to give it in the bill? Whether the 35,000 or the 5 lakh? The answer is 5 lakh because yes. The value I have to mention in the bill is 5 lakh, not the value of the service I'm providing to the recipient. Actually, even in bill portal also, it will not take the HSN with the service SSC code. If I want to generate the bill with the SSC code, it will not take. It will only for the goods it will allow to generate the bill, and that restriction is there in the bill portal. And who is required to generate the bill, whether the supplier or the recipient? So in case the ex-factory sale, the in the case of ex-factory sale, the obligation of the supplier ends at the fact. Yes, anyone. The obligation of the seller ends at its factory gate only. So from factory gate to buyer warehouse, the responsibility is with the buyer. So in case of ex-factory sale, the movement is causing by the recipient. Therefore, bill is required to generate by the recipient, that is the buyer, not the seller. In case of FOR delivery case, in that case, the obligation with the seller is till the delivery of the goods to the recipient. In that case, who is causing the movement of goods here? The seller is causing the movement of the goods. Therefore, seller is required to generate the bill. So, and we'll take up the another example. I'm the employee. I'm the registered person, and I'm sending the laptop to my employee who is doing the work from home. So the value of the laptop is around 60,000. In this case, whether do I need to raise the bill? Yes. In this case, even if it is not supply, if you see here, even in the case of other than the supply also, we need to raise the bill. Therefore, not only for the supply, even for other than the supply and inward supply from unregistered party also, in that case also we need to write the e-way bill. So this is all about the applicability of the e-way bill. Sir, do you want to add anything here, sir?
Yes, so I just want to add a couple of points, more like definitely a cursor which people definitely have to be aware of. Firstly, as Jagadish rightly mentioned, e-way bill is not for supply, but it is for movement of the goods. Being unaware of this fact, an organization changing its registered office from one location to other location is shifting their furniture. They're just shifting their furniture, they're just moving. Now, unaware that it is not a supply and they have to do something, they haven't raised the e-way bill. And by the way, he will come to penal provisions of the e-way bill, which is 200% of the tax amount. Here, there's no supply, but they would end up paying penalty. Next, most of the time, the people who run showrooms, they would have a godown in 100 meters distance. And someone from their showroom, a small boy, would go on a moped and bring the material in from the godown and come. Hypothetically, if I say they are taking let's say they are dealers of mobile phones, right? And this mobile phone is as small as this, which is today in lakhs. If in his moped is just carrying some 10, 12 phones and coming and not generated any e-way bill, they would end up paying penalty. Assuming 10 lakhs worth material and 1,80,000 is the tax amount, the penalty implication is 3,60,000. Unaware of the fact and non-intentional. By the way, the penalties at the beginning, which I said in section 74, which is fraud, is max equivalent to the tax amount, while the penalty under e-way bill is 200% of the tax amount. And when there is no intent to evade the tax or defraud the system. This is a harsh provision under the law. It's very important. Everyone has to be aware of each and every provision of e-way bill and have to comply. Background, most of us know sale of material, value more than 50,000, we will raise e-way bill. Beyond that, the compliance is little poor. In fact, he has given an example of a job work where the material is 5 lakhs and the job work charges is 35,000 rupees. Still, the e-way bill has to be raised for the full 5 lakh. Because what is moving is goods, the value of the goods is what needs to be assessed. Please note, the another example which Jagadish said, the obligation to raise an e-way bill, whether it is supplier or recipient. The right answer to it, if you see here, the words used is consignment, which means it is the consignor who is to raise the e-way bill. Who is consignor is the person who is causing the movement. Sometimes it could be supplier, sometimes it could be recipient. I, as a registered buyer, coming to your shop, making the purchase, and I am carrying those goods back to my factory. I am responsible to generate e-way bill as a recipient. I, as a registered customer, coming to your shop and buying the goods and asking you to deliver the goods to my factory. The responsibility to generate the e-way bill will be yours because you have an obligation to move the goods. So the person who is causing the movement of the goods should raise. Only exception to it is in case if the seller is unregistered, the the registered buyer shall raise an e-way bill. These are the basics. Though at the cost of repetition, I am saying it because I don't want anyone to make an error in the generation of e-way bill. And I'm sure all the questions that have been asked were raised. The question from Samsuddin is it required if it is a personal use? Again, the answer is no. If you are an unregistered person, again, if you see this slide here, the starting word which is saying is registered person under the GST. It starts with the word registered person under the GST. The obligation to generate an e-way bill is for this. In fact, under GST, we are multiple persons. So every time when you are reading any provision of the act, you need to see to whom it is applicable. Like section 9 talks about taxable person. So whether or not who is registered, the provisions are applicable. When you say section 35 books of accounts, it is registered person. 130 penal provisions, it is any person. Sometimes valuation, distinct person, related person. So the words are very important. So each provision is applicable to whom, to which act. So in this case, it is registered person. So Samsudin, in case if it's an unregistered person who is buying the goods, let's say I am going to Sangeeta Mobiles and buying a phone and putting in my pocket and going home, value more than 1 lakh, e-waybill is not required. It is my for personal effect, right? So we can continue, Jagadish.
Okay, sir. Now this consignment value we already discussed. So the previous slide.
Just the previous slide, 1 second, Jagadish. Yeah, so again, here the consignment value, the only one point which I would like to add here. Generally, in case of an exempted supply, you should raise bill of supply. In case of a taxable supply, you should raise a tax invoice. You should not club the taxable and exempted supply and issue a single document. That is not permitted in the law. Except otherwise, you are making a supply to an unregistered person where tax invoice cum bill of supply is permitted under the inserted rule at a later point in time. Now, the point here, one has to see if the invoice value is more than 70,000, 50,000, let's say hypothetically 70,000 is the invoice value. Let me give you the breakup of that 70,000. I have sold sugar and rice, sugar being taxable, rice being exempt. Sugar being taxable, rice being exempt. I have sold, let's say 25,000 worth of sugar, 5,000 tax amount in it, 30,000 is the sugar value, 25 plus 5,000, 40,000 rupees is the value of the rice, invoice value 70,000. 30,000 towards sugar, 25 plus 5, 40,000 towards rice, 70,000. Value is more than 50,000. Whether e-waybill is required, the answer is no. At times, the department officers might also stop a conveyance and say, hey, look, the value in this invoice is more than 50,000. You should be raising the e-waybill. Here, we need to see the value means only the taxable value plus tax amount. In the current case, 25,000 plus 5,000, 30,000 is the taxable value and tax amount, which is less than 50,000. Hence, the generation of e-waybill is not required. Yeah, please continue.
Okay, sir. So in the previous slide, rule 181 required the generation of e-waybill with a consignment value exceeding 50,000, right? But even in some cases, even the consignment value is less than 50,000, even in that cases also, e-waybill is required to be generated mandatorily. We'll see what are all those cases. In case of job work, either principal or agent located in the different states, then even the consignment value is less than 50,000. In that case also, e-waybill is mandatorily required to be generated. And even supplying of handicraft goods. What are all the handicraft goods are notified in the notification number 32/2017. So even transport from one state to another of handicraft goods, even the consignment value is less than 50,000 also, e-waybill is required to be mandatorily generated. So these are all the handicraft goods. I am not going into deep water. What will all cover under handicraft goods? We will share this PPT. You can see what are all the handicraft goods. Okay. So in both these cases, even if the consignment value is less than 50,000, e-waybill is mandatorily required to be generated. So now coming to the sub-rule 2 of Rule 130A, transportation of goods by the registered person, who should fill the part B of the e-waybill 01. So in case of transportation by road, then transported by the registered person, even if he transported in his own or conveyance or public conveyance, then consigner or consignee, either of the party can generate the e-waybill. Whereas in case of the railway or air or vessel, and supplier or the recipient can generate the e-way bill on or before or after the commencement of the movement of the goods. Only in case of the railways, e-way bill can be generated or even after the commencement of the movement of the goods, but railways shall not deliver the goods unless you have produced the e-way bill copy to them. So that's the one condition provided in the Rule 138 sub Rule 2A. So whereas by road, in any other case other than the railway, you have to generate the e-way bill before the commencement of the movement of the goods. Only in case of the railways, before or after, but at the time of delivery, you have to produce the e-way bill copy to the railways. Otherwise, they will not give the delivery or the consignment. So now coming to the Rule 138, sub Rule 3, transportation of goods by road by transporter, where the e-way bill is not generated under Rule 138, sub Rule 2, and goods are handed over to the transporter for transportation. And the person who has handed over the goods to the transporter has provided the information about the transport and the party of the e-way bill. In this case, e-way bill is required to be generated by the transporter. It has endorsed to the transporter, the supplier or the recipient. In that case, e-way bill is required to be mandatorily generated by the transporter. So party will be filled by the who is causing the movement of the goods, and the transporter will fill the part B and generate the e-way bill. So now coming to the e-way bill number. Upon generation of the e-way bill on the common portal, a unique number will be generated once the part is filled, and it should be made available to supplier, recipient, and the transporter. And provision to this sub rule 4 is part B is not required to be updated if the movement of the goods up to 50 kilometers within the state from the business of the consignor to the transporter for further transportation. In that case, part B is not, e-way bill is required to be generated, but only the part B is not required to be filled. It's optional. Only for the transport from the business of the consignor to the location of the transport. Only in that case, we are not required to be update the part B. But part A, we are mandatorily to be filled and generated, and also need to be carried along with the consignment.
Yeah.
So that's what, yeah.
One point again, everyone has to be very mindful of is e-way bill is consisting two parts, part A and part B. It is mandatory. Please note, it is mandatory to have part A before the movement. So the rule 138 sub rule 1 says having part A is must. It will be called as e-way bill only when part A and part B is complete. However, there are small relaxations wherein till at what point the part B can be generated. So at your end, even when the goods are getting moved, make sure that part A at least exists, and at what point part B would get generated, we will see in a while. But having part A is the must thing. And please note, without part B, it will not be called as e-way bill. E-way bill has two parts, part A and part B. To originate the movement, part A is something is a starting point.
Yes. The part B only transported details will be there, whereas in the part A, consignor, consignee, those and description of the goods, value of the goods, all the details will be in the part A. Whereas in part B, the transporter ID and the vehicle number, only those details with respect to the transporter will be there. So coming to the rule 138, sub rule 5. In case of goods transfer from one conveyance to another conveyance or to another transporter, in case vehicle may get broken down, in that case goods needs to be shifted from one vehicle to the another vehicle. So what this rule is saying that before the transshipment, before further movement of the goods and for before such transfer, part B, the transported details needs to be get updated with the new transported details. So otherwise, it will deem to be you have transported the consignment without having the proper e-way bill. So now coming to the rule 138, sub rule 6. When multiple consignments are intended to be transported in one consignment. This is the case where VRL give goods to the VRL and VRL will deliver it to the respective places. So yeah. So after e-waybill generation, transporter has given option to generate the consolidated e-waybill based upon the information provided in the e-waybill of the for each consignment. That transporter can generate consolidated e-waybill in the form number GST EWB02. Instead of carrying all those e-waybills, single e-waybill, we can generate one consolidated e-waybill in the GST EWB02 form. So coming to rule 138 sub rule 7, liability of the transporter to generate the e-waybill. So consigner not generated the e-waybill, and consignee also not generated the e-waybill. Whereas the aggregate value of the consignment is more exceeding 50,000. And that in this case, mandatorily transporter is required to generate the e-waybill on the basis of the details provided by the consigner or the consignee as our case may be. So, however, this rule has not yet notified. So, as of now, this is not the transporter is not required to generate the e-waybill as this rule has not yet notified. So there is an exception for the transportation of the goods by railways, air and vessel, as far as this rule 138 sub rule 7 concerned. So I will not go into much regarding this rule because it has not yet notified. So now coming to the next rule, sub rule 8, communication of information furnished in party of the GSTW01. So whatever the information furnished in the part A of the e-way bill, that is the EWB01, it should be made available to the registered supplier so that he utilize the same for furnishing the details in the GSTR1. This is just a procedural part. And coming to the cancellation of the e-way bill. Once the e-way bill is generated, when only after filling the details in the part B, then only the validity of the e-way bill will start. Okay. So once the e-way bill is generated, we can cancel it on or before 24 hours of the generation of the e-way bill. Or if the generated e-way bill has verified in the transit, so in that case also even 24 hours, within the 24 hours also, we cannot cancel it, whichever is earlier. Either if it is verified before 24 hours in the transit or 24 hours, whichever is earlier. So the acceptance of the e-way bill. So whatever the details we provided the e-way bill generated, it should be made available to the supplier or the recipient as under the concern, the e-way bill on whom it has raised has given communicate his acceptance or rejection. So if the supplier has raised the e-way bill to the recipient, so recipient has to accept it within the 72 hours. If he has not communicated anything, either he has not accepted nor rejected. In that case, after expiring of 72 hours, it is deemed to be accepted. So you have, we'll take a small example here. I have raised the e-way bill, but later goods has not moved. I want to cancel the e-way bill, but 24 hours has expired. So in this case, I cannot cancel the e-way bill, right? So what I will do here, I will ask my recipient to cancel the e-way bill on whom e-way bill has raised, because he is having the 72 hours of time, right? So I will ask him to reject the e-way bill what I have generated on your ID, that GST number. So in this way, we can even the time limit from our end expert, we can ask the counterparty to cancel the e-way bill.
Yeah, one point here,
Yes.
which is very important, is the 24-hour window for cancellation is the only thing that you need to be mindful of. Sometimes the errors that would also happen by system generator. The accountant generally, when he is going on the leave, he knows these are the materials to be packed and to be dispatched. So he would generate invoices, keep it ready, and give it to the dispatch section admin department. so that during the holiday he is not disturbed nor the work is disturbed. There is no facility in the system to say that, okay, please generate an e-way bill starting from 2 days from now. No. But if I activate an e-way bill now, it gets activated, and very soon we'll see the shelf life every 200 kilometers is a day. So the time will clock. So you need to be very careful that if you are generating an e-way bill, it will get cancelled only within 24 hours. After that, you cannot cancel an e-way bill. And if you have multiple e-way bills generated for which GSTR ones are not reported, department would send one notice asking why there is a difference. So you got to be careful if something is automated in the systems and it is unattended and things are happening without someone's notice. Please proceed.
Okay. So validity in the just now Venu sir has said that the validity will depend upon the number of kilometers. So what is the validity for the e-way bill in case of the normal dimensional cargo carry, that is normal truck? In that case, validity will be for every 200 kilometers, validity will be 1 day. Whereas in case of other than the war dimensional cargo, that is the trucks carrying the big equipment, for those validity will be for every 20 kilometers 1 day, and 20 kilometers are part thereof, additional 1 day will be there. Even for the other than the war dimensional cargo also, for every 200 kilometers or part thereof, 1 additional day will be given. So when the validity will start, I can generate the party of the e-way bill today, but till when I can update the details in the part B. Within 15 days, you can update the details in the part B. Okay, I have updated the details in the part B and generated the e-way bill today at 3 p.m. When it will get lapsed, when the 1 day will expire. So assume it is below 200 kilometers, 190 kilometers. Okay, so in that case, when it will get expired, 1 day means every way bill will get expired in the midnight of the day. Let's say I'm generating the way bill today at 3 p.m. It will get expired tomorrow midnight at 12 p.m. Okay, 12 a.m. So that's the validity period. Okay, so validity can be extended before 8 hours and after, before 8 hours of the expiry and after 8 hours of the expiry time. Let's say just now I said every way bill will get expired in the midnight of the day. So I can extend the validity before 8 hours, that is 4 p.m. in the evening or 8 a.m. of the subsequent day. So today from today 4 p.m. that window will open, and after 8 a.m. it will get closed. Okay, so that's the case. The e-way bill generated under this rule 138 is valid in all the states across the country. The validity is there. Okay, sir, would you like to add anything here, sir? Yeah, okay.
Nothing, Jagadish. Please proceed.
Oh, okay. So this is about the validity of the e-way bill. So, and one more option, how this distance will get measured, just by giving the starting point pin and the end point pin, that is consignor pin and consignee pin. System will automatically calculate the distance between the to and from address. So here we have a buffer of increase or decrease of 10% of the auto populated figure. Let's take in my case, in my earlier case, the distance is 190 kilometers, right? Here I have an option to increase it to 10%, that is plus 19, 190 plus 19. So kilometers will be 209, so that I will get an additional day validity. So it's better to have an additional buffer. Okay. So this is one more thing I want to discuss it here. Okay. So use that buffer in case of just 199. In that case, it will be useful, very useful. Okay. Now coming to the rule 138, sub rule 11 and 12, acceptance rejection of the e-way bill. This we have already discussed. that either in case of supplier, he can cancel the e-way within 24 hours, whereas then the counterparty have an option to accept or reject within the 72 hours of the e-way. Okay, this we already discussed. So sub rule 14 of rule 138 provided the cases where the e-way is not required to be generated. We'll see what are all the cases. In case of transportation of consignment by non-motorized conveyance, like rickshaw, carts, bullock carts, in all that cases, even the consignment value, all the conditions, whatever provided in the rule 138 sub rule 1, when all those conditions are met, even then we are not required to generate the e-way bill. And transportation of goods from the port, customs port to the CFS, container freight stations, or inland container depot for the clearance. In that case also, e-way bill is not required to be generated. Whereas in the specified notified area, in playing of consignment in the notified area, in that case also, as of now, nothing has been notified. In that case also, e-way bill is not required to be generated. In case of transportation of exempted goods, in that case also, we are not required to generate the e-way bill. Whereas transportation of alcohol, liquor for human consumption, petroleum crude, HSD, all these are the petroleum products and gas, natural gas. In this case also not required to be generated. And the transport of schedule 3 items. As of now, nothing has been notified in the schedule 3. Coming to the where the goods are being transported under customs supervision, bond or seal. That is, movement of the goods from the port to the bonded warehouses, private bonded or public bonded warehouses. In that case also, those are all the sealed goods. Because of that, it is not required to generate the e-way bill. With the goods being transport or transit cargo, in case of transit cargo shipment, from or to Nepal or Bhutan. Let's take one of the party located in the Nepal has imported the goods from the China or some other part. So goods will first import into the Kolkata port. From Kolkata port, goods will travel through the Indian land and will reach to Nepal or Bhutan. So passing the goods to the Indian land, in that case also, transshipment case also, e-way bill is not required to be generated. Whereas the consignor of the goods is the central government, state government, or the local authority. For transport of goods by rail, in this case also not required. And transport of empty cargo containers. The liners will generally shift the empty cargo containers to their customers. So in that case also, shipping of empty cargo containers, e-way bill is not required. So in all these cases, e-way bill is not required. And in addition to this list, the sub rule 14 has given an example for what are all goods e-way bill is not required. We'll see what are all the goods: LPG, kerosene, postal baggage, pearl, stones, currency, jewelry. Jewelry now has excluded from this list, and also for the used personal and household effects, coral, and for all this, e-way bill is not required. So, sorry. Yeah. Rule 138A. So what this rule talks about what are all the documents that need to be carried along with the consent. That is, what are all the documents that needs to be carried by the person in charge of the conveyance. So the invoice copy, in case of title supplies, and bill of supply or delivery channel in case of not a supply. In case of the import, bill of entry is required to be carried along with the consent, and along with that, a copy of the e-way bill in physical form or the e-way bill in the electronic form also is allowed. So, okay, here I have not pushed. Yeah, okay, bill of entry I already covered. So, in case of the import, I am mandatorily required to carry the bill of entry document also. So coming to the verification of the documents. Rule 138B talks about the commissioner or an officer who is empowered to verify the e-way bill, he can verify. This has given a power to the commissioner or an officer who is authorized by him. He can, if he desire to verify the e-way bill, he can. And also similarly, the e-conveyance, if he desire to inspect the physical verification of the conveyance, he can do. That's the power given to the commissioner or the officer authorized by him. So, just a second. Yeah, inspection and verification of the goods. Rule 138C and Rule 138D provides for the procedure for inspection and verification of the goods. So we'll see what is the procedure that have been prescribed. Post inspection, post interception, once the vehicle had detained, an officer has to submit the form EWB03 within 24 hours. Party of EWB03 within 24 hours of the inspection. Post that, he has to report the detailed report in a part B within 3 days of the inspection. And physical verification can be done only once during the transit. Once the physical verification done, and it cannot be done again within the same state unless there is a specific information of tax evasion. Only there should be the concrete evidence that there is a tax evasion. Only in that case, again, the physical verification can be done. Otherwise, only once in the state physical verification can be done. So, as Rule 138D has provided the facility for the transporter. If a transporter feels that unnecessarily vehicle has detained and he has making some trouble. So, it has Rule 138D has given the facility for the transporter to upload such information in the form EWB03 if the vehicle had detained for more than 30 minutes. So key points, as I said earlier, Rule 138F is a new rule which is effective from 4th August of this year, that is 4th August 2023. This is applicable. So earlier, e-way bill is not required to be generated for the movement of the gold and jewelry and precious stones and other metals. But now, even for the gold, movement of the gold, e-way bill is mandatorily required to be generated, but only the movement is within the state. In that case also, for the interstate movement, e-way bill is not required to be generated. Only for the interstate movement, e-way bill is required to be generated. So till now, we have discussed that threshold limit for generation of e-way bill is 50,000. But for the gold, it has stated that the threshold limit, the option to put the threshold limit has given option to the states, but it has put one condition that it should not be below 2 lakh. So the threshold limit should not be below 2 lakh. Whereas in the normal cases, the threshold limit is 50,000. But here the states has given option, whatever they feel threshold limit they can put, but it should not be below the 2 lakh. So for generation of e-way bill for the gold, there will be a separate menu in the e-way bill portal. So for generating the e-way bill of the gold, it is mandated that all the items must belong to the chapter 71 only. If it is clubbed with some other HSNs like 70, 71, 72, all the chapters are mixed in the single document, that is a single invoice. In that case, it will be treated as a normal e-way bill and may be generated along with the part B details. That yeah, for e-way bill, for gold, there is no requirement to fill the part B, that the transporter details are not required to be updated in the e-way bill. So because as I said earlier, this will have a separate menu for this. So, and coming to the next, transporter updation by the transporter, that is part B, is not allowed. And also the consolidated e-way bill cannot be generated. And extension of e-way bill is allowed without updating the part B. As part B is anyway optional. Even the multi-vehicle facility is not allowed. The transshipment and cancellation, rejection of e-way bill can be done as like the normal e-way bills, that is 24 hours, 72 hours. The same thing here also applies for even for the gold. Only thing is that only for the interstate movement, e-way bill is required for gold, whereas for interstate it is not required. And the threshold limit also 2 lakhs. It will differ from state to state, as it is required only for the interstate movement.
Yeah, a point which I would like to add here, Jagdish, is this is state-specific provision that would get implemented. And in fact, this was the first requested by the state of Kerala. All other states proceeded, and in the 50th council meeting, the rules relating to this has been actually sought for. Couple of points, just a reiteration, whatever which Jagdish has mentioned, is this is a new rule. The value here is 1 lakh. That's the point number 1. Second, you also need to be aware that this is required whether or not for supply, like how we are talking about for others, it is required whether or not for supply. Part B is not required, part A is what it is required here. So this, they are only looking at tracking the ensuring the gold is also being moved. That movement is also they want to track it. Department wants to track it. Hence, this is coming. I'm not sure if any one of you are in this industry. You would be very mindful of it. And most importantly, only Chapter 71 has to be clubbed. If there are 2-3 articles in a single invoice, let's say that a classic case of Titan, which is selling watches, which is gold also in it. So for that, it is not Chapter 71, it's a different chapter. And the limit will not be 2 lakhs, the limit will be 50,000. This is one important thing you need to be very mindful of. Otherwise, this new section, so we need to be very careful about the movement of the gold. Applicable only to registered person again. If I am, is like every day when any one of us today go, girls having earrings and some bangles easily cost 2 lakhs. So goods of the personal effects, e-way bill will not be applicable. Yeah. Yes, Jagdish, please.
Okay. So procedure for what is the procedure that needs to be followed by the officer while intercepting the vehicles. So this is the procedure which has prescribed through the circular number 41. I am not going into detail much about this circular, because all this needs to be followed by the department. So once the vehicle is detained, notice has to be issued within the 7 days. That you have to issue the notice in GST MOV 7. On receipt of the above notice, owner of the goods may move ahead as per the following. If the owner comes forward and accept the tax and the penalty as per the notice, that is as per the section 129, penalty has been levied. Then in that case, if we had deposited the amount of tax and penalty by debiting the ECL, electronic credit ledger or the cash ledger, then the order for the release will be given in GST MOV 05. Suppose if the owner doesn't come forward to accept the tax and the penalty, in that case, reply should be filed along with the objections. And speaking order in GST MOV 09 with the detailed reasons has to be uploaded in the common portal within 7 days after the service of the notice. After that, if he convinced with the reply, the proper officer can give an order of release in the GST MOV 05. So if you are not satisfied with the order, then you can file an appeal against this order. That is penalty levied under section 129. Then you can go for the appeal by pre-depositing the 25% of the penalty demand. So proper officer, if the penalty has levied under section 130, then proper officer shall issue the notice in the form GST MOV 10. In case of order of confiscation, then MOV 11 has to be issued. we'll see what is meant by this detention, confiscation, seizure, and all that we'll see in the later slide. So we'll see the important points about the e-way bill. So for one consignment, one document, one e-way bill. We cannot generate multiple e-way bills for the single invoice. In the same way, we cannot generate the single e-way bill for the multiple invoices. Okay. For each invoice, you can generate only one e-way bill. Okay. Just a second. So for every one consignment, one document, one e-way bill. Okay. In case of, if you want to, let's take an example. In the one, I have bought an coal of 50 metric tons, which can be carried in the 10 trucks. But the supplier has given only one invoice. In that case, yeah. Just a second. Sorry. Yeah.
Jagadish, you want me to handle?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No, you'll continue or you want me
yes,
to?
Yes, sir. I will continue, sir. Continue.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I bought a 50 metric tons of coal. So seller has given only single invoice. Okay. So in that case, in the earlier case, I said that for one invoice, you can generate one e-way bill. Then how can you move the 50 metric tons of coal in 10 trucks in multiples of 10? So CBIC has given an FAQ, just stating that for the first 9 trucks, you move the goods based upon the DC delivery channel. For the last lot, you move the consignment with the original invoice. So like that, you can move the goods in case of the multiple consignments in a single invoice. So multiple documents, one e-way bill. This already discussed. For multiple invoices, we cannot generate the one e-way bill. And for one e-way bill, you cannot, for single invoice, you cannot generate the multiple e-way. Okay. No way the e-way bill can be edited or amended. Once the part P is filled, after that, you cannot have an option to edit or amend. Only option is there to cancel it. Okay. And validity of the e-way bill. As and when you enter the details in the part B and submit it, then the validity will start. So not from the time of generation of the e-way bill. That is on filling the details on submission of details in the part A, the validity will not start. So transportation details can be updated any number of times as long as the validity is there for the e-way bill. So you can update the multiple vehicle numbers, that shifting of mobile, vehicle numbers. Yeah. So now we'll see the penalties under the e-way bill. Under so there are specific penalties and general penalties. First, we will see the specific penalties, which are levied under section 120, 129, 130, and minor penalties. And then the last, we'll see the general penalties. So specific penalty. Before going into the penalties, we'll see what is meant by detention, seizure, and confiscation. There is no definition in the Act, but in the general trade parlance, we'll see what is meant by detention, what is meant by seizure, and what is meant by the confiscation. First, we'll see the detention. Detention means by bearing right of access to the owner of the products by order is referred to as a detention. Even after detention, the portion of the consignment, that possession of the products remains with the owner only. And detention shall be given once it is suspected that the products are prone to the seizure. Okay. So in detention, possession will be with us all. Whereas in the seizure, the process of taking the possession of the goods against the wish of the owner, possession will not be with us in case of the seizure. It is a process which comes before the confiscation of the goods. We'll see what is the confiscation. Confiscation means in which the seizure articles are sold or disposed of by the order. That's the last case. So this is all about the detention, seizure, and the confiscation. Okay. So, sir, can you please take up? Hello.
No problem. Let's look at the penal provisions of the e-way bill. The penal provisions of the e-way bill, as I said, they are very, very draconian, criminal in my view. We need to be very sure that we comply with all the provisions of the e-way bill and do not get into the problem with the department. Let me start with what are the provisions that has been given. There are two types of the provisions. One, if an SSE, that is the owner coming forward for payment of the tax. Situation two, a owner do not come forward for making payment of the tax. Now you may ask me that how is it possible the owner doesn't come forward for making the payment of tax? Why would that happen? There are also situations where you will someone doesn't want to be named. You'll say who would want to say that this consignment doesn't even belong to me, is something they might say, right? Now, let's look at when the consignment belongs to me and I acknowledge that I will make the payment of taxes. Two things: taxable goods, exempted goods. In case if such goods are taxable, earlier provisions say the penalty was 100%, again 100% of the tax to be collected. But however, the collection of the tax actually comes when there is a supply under. So 129 was ranking in pari passu with the section 9. Technically, this could have been, this would get challenged. Hence, effective from 1st January 22, department said, see, we wanted 200% of the tax as a penalty amount. So there is no longer a tax and it is only a penalty. So when a vehicle is detained and the e-way bill provisions are being invoked, as I said, 1 lakh invoice value means 18,000 say tax amount. The penalty under e-way bill will be 36,000. This is something one has to be careful and they have to definitely be cautious about it. Then there is a penalty in case of exempted goods. You may ask me a question that why there be a penalty for exempted goods? E-way bill is applicable only for the goods which are taxable. But here you are saying that the penalty for exempted goods. If we see Rule 55, it also mandates wherever e-way bill is not required. Please note, wherever e-way bill is not required, still you need to carry the necessary documents. In case of an exempted supply, I need to have delivery challan and the bill of supply wherever applicable. If the reason is other than supply, I still need to carry the delivery challan. So necessary documents should be carried along with me. That is the important thing one should be very careful of. Now, in case if those documents are not being carried, then the penal provisions that would be applicable. Sorry, the penal provisions in case of the exempted goods is 2% of the value of the goods or 25,000, whichever is less. In case if the owner doesn't come back for payment of the taxes, then the penalty would be levied as 50% of the value of the goods. So what happens to the balance 50%? To whom this goes? Don't worry, it doesn't go anywhere. The goods would get auctioned. When we say 50%, 50% is to central government, 50% is to state government. So the whole of the goods would be adjusted with the penalty. In case of exempted goods, 5% of the value of the goods or 25,000, whichever is lower. So the notice, demand order, everything will be made in the name of the truck driver. The convey because he is the one who is carrying the goods, and the penalty would be levied. Given that we were also looking e-waybill, let's proceed and understand the confiscation related matters. It's important to know about section 130. Reiterate one of the point which Jagadish was mentioning. Jagadish was saying that detention, it means you have stopped. When someone is stopping me, the goods are with me. The goods are also in my possession and I am also the owner of the goods. Someone is seizing the goods. The goods are going out of my possession, but the ownership remains with me. Someone is confiscating the goods. The ownership is also getting transferred to the state. The state becomes the owner of the goods. The state would be the owner of the goods. And that being the situation, how do we deal with the tax liabilities in this case? Now, when would this provision be applicable? 129, there is no mens rea. There is no intention to evade the tax. 130 would be invoked when there is an intention to evade the taxes. So, the penalty for 130, which is confiscation of the goods or the vehicle and the conveyance, is, you can see in the second line there's a bold highlight, when there is an intent to evade payment of the tax, when the department feels that someone has intentionally doing something to evade the tax. You are going to market and procuring the goods upon cash without bill. Officer can stop, hey, look, you're carrying the goods, show me the bill. You say, I don't have the bill, they can confiscate the goods, which means the ownership has gone to them. If you want the goods, you got to pay a redemption fine in lieu of the confiscation, which means you have to pay something so that they don't confiscate. And what do you have to pay is equivalent to the value of the goods. Whatever is the goods are now with them. So whatever is the value of the goods is what you will pay to them, and now you are officially buying the goods. And this would also be applicable if the goods are found somewhere and department feels that, okay, this have been liable to pay tax and it has escaped. And the penalty would also be on the conveyance which is carrying these goods, penalty would also be levied. So the penalty, the minimum penalty under section 130 is the penalty of 129, and the maximum penalty is the value of the goods. So that means you will have to pay the value of the goods. So you will be paying this fine, redemption fine in lieu of confiscation. Between 129 and 130, 129 would be invoked when the goods are in movement. 130 would be invoked when there is an intention to evade payment of tax. So department has to prove that there is an intention to evade payment of tax. Section 155 of the Act makes it clear that every department officer has to prove if they are making any levy. The burden to prove that the taxes exist, levy exists, is on the department and not the SSE. However, if the department is saying something, burden is on the department, onus to prove will also shift. If department says, here is the reason why I am levying, then you have onus to prove that why the levy will not happen, right? Only for the input tax credit, the burden is on the SSE. Otherwise, it's the department who has to prove everything. So, intent to pay, evade the tax is important under 130. There is one circular, very important circular, circular 64, issued in 2018. If there are minor errors, so that since 129 is a harsh provision, department said they have given 6 different instances when basically if vehicle number is wrongly entered, invoice number is like misspelled. When I say wrongly entered, instead of entering 1234, 1324 has been entered. Some digits got interchanged. Pin code Bangalore 560050 have been entered. That typing mistake happened, 56, one more 0 extra has come and become 05. Or the address, instead of putting as MG road, they have put as one road behind. HSN code 7280 is made as 8270. Error is human, right? So you have done a data entry here, you are going to e-waybill portal and doing a data entry there. Mistakes would happen. That is where I always say use technology. I'm always a biggest advisor of user of technology. You should have a system where from your accounting system, you press a button, it should connect to the e-way system, generate an e-way bill and give you. So there are 6 instances given, one spelling mistake in the consignee name, but the GST name is correct, the consignee name is wrong. Address is, the locality is close by, but some address is wrong. Error in 4 or 6 digit level, but the first 2 digits are correct. The PIN code has an error, or the e-way bill document number that has been mentioned, the invoice number has an error, vehicle number has an error, then the penalty, instead of putting 200% of the tax, it is restricted to 1000 rupees. So which is a smaller penalty, 500 rupees CGST, 500 rupees SGST. This is what the notice has been mentioned. Then there is a general penalty where anyone who is contravening to the provisions of the Act. So section 125 gives a general penalty which may be extended up to 25,000, which is not mandatory that they proceed it. There are certain judicial provisions which one should also be aware of. We have a concept of principles of natural justice. When the matter is taken to the courts, courts hear them unadulterated, give their opinion, and they would say what should be the penal provisions. Here, an officer of the department has to follow the rule book. An intercepting officer under section 67, the proper officer, when he is intercepting a vehicle in 68, he would follow the rule book and he would say, hey, look, e-way bill is not there. Vehicle is having all the documents, but e-way bill is not there. I will levy the penalty 200% of the tax. You may plead, sir, by mistake, accountant did not know, or e-way bill expired. E-way bill has expired. You may say, sir, we are nearing the distance, another half kilometers. We've traveled 1000 kilometers so far. Traffic, water, whatever the reason, like I couldn't travel so much distance. Just another 500 meters, I'll complete my journey. No, officer will not listen to it and levy the penalty. But when the matter is heard at the court level, courts take a different view and give the relief. But how many of you have an ability to go to the court? Let's say the cost of complaints, cost of litigation also to be heard. Today, high courts are not entertaining all the matters. They are saying that please exhaust all your alternate remedies that exist. What is your alternate remedy? File your first appeal with the first appellate authority under section 107. File an appeal. Once the appeal is heard and your matter is rejected, go to the tribunal. Right now, tribunals are not formed. Once the tribunal it is heard, then go to high court. Now, there's a cost to consultant, cost of fighting all these cases, right? But definitely when you go to the high court, there are reliefs. That's what the matters we have listed. In fact, most judgments that have come in high court in GST matters were relating to e-way bill. Maybe 10% on rest of the other provisions, but 90% on the e-way bill provisions. And most of the times, it was in favor of the SSE. A very important point you should be knowing. When the matter went to high court, most of the point it was favor of SSE. Let me tell you why. Because there are technical lacunas in which the way notices are drafted. The timestamp at which the e-way bill is generated versus the timestamp of the notices that are raised. Second, SSE is a genuine payer, everything, and there are hardships in generating the e-way bill or renewals of the e-way bill owing to communal clashes, etc. It could be various reasons. The department always held in the favor of the SSE. Starting with the first case, which is KB Enterprises versus Assistant Commissioner. Here, the penalty which was on the vehicle number was error. The court held, okay, it's only on the vehicle number. I think you should put a minor penalty of 500 and 500 and not the 200%. Again, in Godrej Consumer Products Private Limited, This is in Himachal Pradesh, if I remember. The incorrect e-way bill has been mentioned due to typographical error. Again, the entire penalty that was levied, the court has ordered to refund it back. They said that the taxes that you have, the penalty that you have collected, please refund back. In case Hindon Machinery Tools Private Limited, here again, the incorrect mentioning of the tax invoice number on the e-way bill. So it's like there are apparent discrepancies, right? This was also held in the favor of the SSC. Sugunda Limited, the goods were detained on account of valuation. The court said that you have no jurisdiction to do classification or valuation. If the person who is selling this phone, market value 1 lakh, he is saying that I am selling at 50,000 or let's say 40,000 rupees. You cannot make an assumption that he is selling it at 40,000 rupees and suppressing the value of the goods and avoiding the e-way bill, and you cannot now increase the value and levy the e-way bill penalty. It is like you are going beyond your jurisdiction, and they said, please release the goods. You do not have an authority to detain the goods. And sometimes where the goods are not perishable and you are clear that, okay, you have ability to appetite to fight. Most times, I always recommend the clients to fight. There is a fear that if I fight with the department, will they take revenge on me in the next year? They come doing such, they will do a detailed audit. Let them do what, as long as you are clear that the max, there are some mistakes of ineligible credits would have been availed, right? Or there is a maybe their time of supply which they would have said no, it's a delay. That's it, right? As long as the SS is genuine, I don't think they shouldn't be fearful of the department. They should always go head on and say that, hey, look, I have done everything, whatever is required. Correct. Maybe if the department is putting a penalty saying that no, these are the wrong, it is a learning that you will have to correct it further, rather than every time when a notice comes or a department officer comes, you shouldn't get worried. You shouldn't, it's always worth holding the bull with to its horns, because I don't see any harm unless otherwise there is an offender who is serious regular offender. So as I said, the valuation classification they cannot do. In case of Hindustan Coca-Cola Private Limited, they have detained saying that you have wrongly classified. It is not their jurisdiction. In fact, they should direct, if they have a doubt, they should direct to the officer under section 65 or 61 saying that, why don't you look at this case, scrutinize the returns and send a notice. They cannot detain the vehicle. They said it has to be refunded back. Goods should be released. In case of Commercial Steel Company, Assistant Commissioner of State Tax, this is a case of Telangana. The vehicle has took a different route. Don't ask me the reason. They have taken a different route. Now, e-way bill was valid. The goods, everything mentioned is valid. And now, instead of going from, say, via Gachibowli, they are going from a different route. Okay, so what? Now, the truck driver find it, he had his own problems saying that, okay, permit of the vehicle is not there, so he doesn't want to deal with the traffic police, whatever. He took a different route to reach the destination. That cannot be a reason for the officer saying that, no, highway is only this, you should be going in this route, hence I'm levying the penalty. Again, when the matter is heard by the courts, most of the time courts have given a strict warnings saying that because these are harassments. In fact, whatever I am showing you, they're all in favor of the SSC. That doesn't mean that all the cases are in favor of SSC. Just that giving you a confidence that you have brighter chances to win when the matter is heard. Next, in Umia Enterprises, this is a Kerala, where the detention of the goods on the ground of the invoice is showing CGST, SGST, and they feel it should be IGST. Now, they are now getting into a question of place of supply. See, that is why I sometimes always say that my famous director Rajmouli and the tax officers always compete each other. They always try to be creative. How creative I can create a notice and look at and take the penalty. Now their job is to see if the documents are right, they should let go. Now they are getting into a jurisdiction and of place of supply, which is of section 12 and 13 of IGST Act for services and 1011 for goods, and saying that no, in this case you should have raised IGST. We don't know. Bill to ship to cases, dispatch cases, there are genuine errors, unintended errors. Having the taxes paid, everything is being there. They are now saying no, it should have been IGST and stopped again. They said you issue a bond, get the goods released, and this is not a case of the tax evasion. This Bhushan Steel, it is old, 3 years old vehicle. This, I will not say the Bhushan Steel will hold good. There are some cases, judgments which came up afterwards, did not consider the facts of the Bhushan Steels. In case of the Bhushan Steels, where the vehicle was within few hours of the expiry, it was detained. Okay, so there was a reasonable time which should have been given, is what the officers have held, and the court said levy 1,000. There are some cases where the court said no, I will. There is no question of looking at intention under 129 and pay full taxes. So this case of the Bhushan Steels, I would always say that take it with pinch of salt, because I have seen some of the matters where 12 lakhs penalty was upheld by the courts. Sitaram Roadways versus State of Gujarat. Here the goods were seized being transported without invoice or the e-way. Now the confiscation order was passed without an opportunity of the being heard. That is why I said sometimes, sometimes on technical grounds, the department fails. Now principles of natural justice has to be followed. So someone should call and ask that, okay, why you are levying penalty and why it should not be confiscated. Everything the procedure department should do. Just because they realize that, okay, they got an easy catch, easy prey, they should not now get into and go ahead and do an order. So here the court said, I agree there is a mistake, but that doesn't allow you, give you a right, you doing a mistake and you being the judge of the matter and you confiscating without even giving an opportunity. Please note, section general principles governing the adjudication processes, the opportunity of being heard should always be given. And you as a SSC can seek up to 3 adjournments to come back prepared for the cases. In case of TVL, RK Motors versus State Tax Officer, Virudnagar, this is Tamil Nadu case, where goods were seized were not offloaded at designated places, but taken to further another point of the delivery. Now, here, everything is there, but the goods started getting delivered in a different places. Sometimes issues like this happen. Here, the High Court said that agree. When the invoice and everything are there apparent on record, why don't you consider that? And why are you being blind to it? And they said, okay, pay 5,000 rupees to the fine. That's it. Can I say that is this the law? Answer is no. This is not the law. Law, you need to have the e-way bill. So you will end up facing the music of the department officer when you do not have the proper documentation. Will you get a relief if it is a bona fide mistake and unintended, no intention to evade the tax? You will get a relief only in high courts, not before that. So these are the points that we need to be careful of. One last case law before I close this, which is Synergy Fintech Private Limited, where confiscation of the goods before seizure and mere on suspicion that there is an evasion of tax. looking at a person wearing a coat and the suit is not a wise man, and someone wearing a chappal, you cannot think that okay, his knowledge is good. Likewise, an officer cannot make a tax thinking that no, this person is likely to evade the payment of tax. As I said, section 155 is very clear that if there is an intention to evade and the penalty is being levied, it is the proof, the burden to prove is on the department. And if department cannot prove that, the case will not stand. Error is human. So if you are making mistakes, quite common because if there are data entry. There is an API interface which your accounting application, it can directly be integrated with the government portal. You can integrate and generate. Today, I'm sure e-invoice, very few people would be generating a JSON from an Excel, going to the portal and uploading. And in case if someone is doing that, my humble request to you is just give up the manual work, automate the process in which you are doing it. Yeah. These are the various points that we intend to cover today on the e-waybill provisions. If there is any questions at this point, we will take up the questions. Else, we will move to the next session. Is there any questions to anyone? Stephen, if you can also make me as co-host for me to share myself and Tarun, if you can make co-host, it would be great. Are there any questions to participant? You can unmute yourself and ask.
Yeah, good afternoon, Ms. Ravi here.
Yes, Mr. Ravi.
So normally you used to send product for exhibition and all. When we are sending, we send we send the product with e-way bill. After completion of the expo, whether we have to reissue the e-way bill for getting the product return.
Okay. So the question here is, I'm dealer, I'm selling the goods, but I don't know who is the buyer. Why? Because I'm taking to an exhibition. At the exhibition, customers would come and buy. When I'm taking the goods to the exhibition, I would raise a delivery challan. And Rule 55 says that you need to have same contents like a tax invoice, just that the heading will be a delivery challan and not a tax invoice. You will mention the HSN, taxable value, and tax amount. In case if that amount exceeds 50,000, you will have to raise an e-way bill and move the goods there. You did your sales out of 10 items that you have taken. Let's say you have successfully sold 6 and 4, you are getting them back. When you are getting the 4 items back, again you got to create a delivery challan. In case if the value of such delivery challan is exceeding 50,000 rupees, you still have to raise an e-way bill. Hope this answers your question, Mr. Ravi.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Ashika, is there anything that needs to be added? Jagadish, anything you want to add?
No, sir.
Sir, my name is Anand.
Yes, Mr. Anand.
Actually, we have got a contract from one of the customer. Ours is a works contract, wherein we have nominated one of the job worker for executing a job work process. And our client, the customer, needs to send directly the material to our job worker. In this scenario, how the way will need to be generated?
Okay. So, in an e-way bill, again, e-way bill, one should be knowing what does the e-way bill can do. E-way bill can help me to generate a goods movement. I was trying to... Second.
Sir, there is Ambika here.
One moment. So let's take 4 things that exist in the e-way bill. You have person who is selling, person who is receiving, person where the material is going from. Now, this is seller address. This would be buyer address. By the way, is the screen visible, Jagadish?
Yes, sir, visible, sir.
Okay. Dispatch from location, ship to location. Now, the case which was asked here is, I am the seller, and Jagadish is buyer. Jagadish is asking me that, okay, I am in the business of job work, but my job worker, Jagadish, let's say Jagadish is in Vizag, he is in Vizag, and I am here in Bangalore, the state of Karnataka. Let's say job worker is in the state of Telangana, which is Hyderabad. Jagadish can say, you sell the goods to me, but move the goods directly to the job worker. So, Mr. Anand, the answer is yes, it can be permitted. And let's say, while I was about to send the goods, I realized that the goods do not exist in my location of Bangalore. Let's say the goods are in Mysore. So I can say, I am here in Bangalore. My invoice will be from Bangalore, which will say, lift the goods from Mysore and ship it to Hyderabad, while the invoice is from Bangalore to Vizag. So all these multiple combinations permit possible, and each one of it can be in different state. All of this is possible. So hope this answers your question, sir. Next question.
So in the scenario, we being the contractor, not the buyer actually, we being a contractor, actually we nominate a job worker living in Hyderabad.
No problem. In this case, buyer is Mr. X. So billing is to Mr. X, material is going to a job worker, permitted.
But there will not be any relation, any contract, any relation between the seller and the job worker. It's not required, right?
Not required.
Oh, thank you.
Hello,
Yeah.
sir. This is Srinivas.
Yes, sir.
One of our clients do STP works.
Okay.
They procure all the goods in the site only.
Mhm.
While billing, whether we need to again raise e-way bill.
Sir, okay.
Already goods are in site.
To the site. For the movement of the goods to the site, e-way bill is required. After the goods reach the site and I am further invoicing, then just there is a movement, but there is a billing, but no movement. No movement, no e-way bill.
Okay.
I will come back this with a small example. Let's say I am here. Let's say I am here, and sorry. So here is a case. Seller is in Bangalore and buyer in Hyderabad. And we will also take a thing that this site is in Mysore, and this is my customer location. Okay, so let's take, this is the location of the buyer's location. The buyer is saying that, okay, you bill to me, which is the tax invoice. The tax invoice has to be to me. E-way bill, you send it here. The material has come. The e-way bill has come here. Now, after the e-way bill is here, what will buyer do? Buyer will raise one more invoice to the person who is the site owner, saying that, hey, look, I am procuring the goods, material has come. for this tax invoice, you don't require an additional e-way bill because you don't need an additional e-way bill. You will have invoice 1, invoice 2, but there is only one e-way bill for this business. Clear, sir?
Sir, one more thing. Here we will get advances and sometime we will bill 90% of the invoice, means 90% of the contract value.
Okay.
But we would have procured goods in number of times.
No problem.
So we will raise one invoice for our seller. We raise invoice with goods.
Yeah. That doesn't, that has no implication.
Okay, in that case also no need of e-way bill.
No need of any.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Sir, I am Ambika here.
Yes, ma'am.
This is actually, we are supplying the material in our containers. There is, for example, now we are supplying the gas in cylinders. But these containers, no, that are returnable after usage. So this is actually the supply ends when we receive the cylinders back.
Right.
So is it necessary to raise the e-way bill while collecting these cylinders in return?
Right. Now, at times, in fact, we have a circular for this. Let's take a simple case of this fruits, vegetables, which are being carried from the farmers. However, the fruits and vegetables are an exempt. But the provisions which are being carried, which is milk, butter, cheese, every day, morning, all these vehicles go with crates. And crates are not for sale. The content inside the crate is for sale. Unloaded, again the crates are sent back. Like in your case, some maybe oxygen cylinders. Someone will go with a big oxygen cylinder to different places. They refill how much ever they want and they come back. The value of these refill containers are definitely more than 50,000. Should I need to generate an e-way bill for it? I am adding one point to it. Every capital good and every empty container not for sale doesn't require an e-way bill generation. We have a circular given to this extent and a clarification. Added to it, conveyance by itself. You might find on the road a lorry is going, no chassis, nothing, body is getting built. So I sold lorry itself. So lorry is being sent for delivery. So the conveyance itself is a goods. So when a conveyance itself is a good or an empty container, or it is a capital asset going for doing an installation activity, in these cases, you have an exemption by the circular saying that you don't need to generate a e-way bill.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Any other question? All right. So let's move to the second part. Anything else to be added, Jagadish?
No, sir. Some questions are there in the chat box.
Okay. Yeah, pick up those questions. In between, I just got disconnected and joined back, so I am unable to see the questions.
Oh, okay.
These questions are answered well and good. If something is not answered, you can take it up.
Suppose, the question is, suppose I have made rental equipment costing 5 lakh. Shall I mention in the tax invoice on the cost and DC and the e-way bill, and is it mandatory?
Whether when you're taking the goods for renting, let's say I'm in the business of audit and assurance, and you have invited me to do a demo of how e-way bill works and everything, and I'm carrying, let's say, a projector, some items, and to show the demo, or I'm giving it on rent to you. In all these cases, e-way bill is required for movement of those materials because I am not supplying those goods. I'm only renting it. My value of that could be smaller amount, but I'm in the business of renting for which I am carrying the goods, hence the e-way is required for the value of the goods. The projector value is 1 lakh, rental per day is only 1,000. Material is going, raise an e-way bill for that.
Okay. And one more question, sir. Is there any implication to not to generate e-way bill, but goods delivered without any issues?
Okay, you've been lucky, no one has caught you and the goods got delivered. So now can I generate an e-way bill? Procedurally, you may generate and keep it, but yeah, the department may ask for, okay, how did these goods move?
No, in my
Department-
view, yeah, yes, sir.
Go ahead, tell.
Yes, sir. In my view, if goods are delivered without e-way bill and don't generate e-way bill now. Recently, I have seen one case. So, e-way bill has rise from Vizag to Chennai. The same within 30 minutes of span with the same vehicle number, e-way bill generated from Telangana, Hyderabad to Maharashtra, and department has sent a notice. And how it is possible? Within 30 minutes, you have raised the e-way bill. So the same case happened. So better to not the generate e-way bill.
Yeah. So the point which I would like to add here is it is not necessary that my e-way bill outward should match with my sales. I have sold the goods. It is not my obligation to generate an e-way bill. Buyer could have come with his vehicle and he would have taken the goods. And I don't need to prove that e-way bill is not there means I did not make a sale. I have violated. No, answer is no. And as Jagadish rightly said, it's okay. You can ignore it now and do not get into another litigation. So to cover a lie, end up with another lie. So something like that. Yeah. Okay, we'll move to the second part of the presentation. Now we will be talking, we'll look at how to use technology. And when I say how to use technology, we will now look at, earlier we have seen the concept of SQL in Microsoft Excel. In Excel, you can write a query like a SQL command. SQL is structured query language, which is used in most databases. In database, they write queries. So SQL is from the Microsoft. 2 years back, Microsoft has created usage of Python inside library inside the Microsoft. So the pip install, which is done mostly in the Python, is now available in the Excel. In the earlier session, we have briefly touched upon that SQL queries can be used in Excel. And for a small data set, we have written an SQL query and shown you the result. In today's session, we would be connecting the data to the Microsoft Excel to Tally, fetch the data, and see how we can use SQL queries to give a desirable reports. So those who are into accounting profession, who are into internal audit, or who is presenting MIS to the management, or some case statutory audit, you want to write some queries, this is a wonderful opportunity. In couple of our earlier sessions, we have explained you about M language, writing a power query, which is the script M script, and fetching the data from the Tally automatically. In today's session, we are combining the earlier session knowledge of fetching the data through Power Query from Tally and the last session of SQL, and we will be writing queries on the fetched Tally data. So for this session, I invite Tarun to present his screen and yes, Tarun.
Okay. Can I share screen, sir?
Yes, please. Maybe Tarun, can you start from the beginning also? Some of them wouldn't have, would not know about the M script. So quickly, if they suddenly see how come data exists, maybe you can take a blank Excel file and you can also start.
Okay, sir. 1 minute, sir. I will start. Oh, okay, sir.
Yeah.
Mm. We have taken new file, sir. So we are going to extract data from Tally to Power BI Excel, sir. So for that, we need to go data from other source, blank query. Blank query is nothing but blank, sir. There is nothing. So we have to write in a mashup language, which is M language. From that, we can extract data to from Tally to Excel, sir.
Yeah, so this is the Power Query, which is M language, M scripting, where you can write query. And using this, we are now fetching the data from the Tally. So there's a couple of queries which is already written. Maybe you can just copy paste the queries that are there and fetch it. In fact, in earlier session, we have shown you how to write the query. I would always suggest people go to advanced editor and do it, because what you are seeing that in the effects, typing the query in that small thing will be challenging. In the advanced editor, you will have an option, a bigger space, where you can write the query and easily see what is happening.
Sir, can I do?
Yeah.
Okay, sir. So first we are taking TB data, sir, the trial balance data. After that, we will take daybook data. So we have already written this code, mashup language, M language. So we are going to paste this one in blank query. So here we have to click on advanced editor. So it will pop up a new window, which is a blank, like a blank page. So here we have to paste it. After that, we have to click on done. So it automatically fetch data from Tally to Excel Power Query. So this is the data, sir, which is coming from Tally to Excel Power Query.
So basically now what we have done is we have extracted the trial balance from the Tally automatically on a click of a button. Go ahead, continue.
So here we can change from date and to date, sir. So I'm not changing this one. Now close load. Yes, sir. This is the data, sir, coming from Tally to Excel sheet.
Friends, if you notice, in a normal case, you will not get the trial balance in this detail. So here on the right side, you can see ledger name, what is the ledger parent, what is the primary group, whether it is a P&L item, whether it is a debit, credit, or whatever, what is the opening balance during the year, how much is the net debit, credit, closing balance, and whether it is an assets, liabilities. All this classification has been automatically done in just one click of a button. Now on this, we will write analytical queries. Yes, go ahead, sir.
Okay, sir. So we have written already some SQL queries, sir. From that, we have taken some examples. Like these are queries, SQL queries we have written. Select particular name, like we have to select from the table sheets. We require name, parent, and credit note or debit or credit balances. For that, we are writing one simple statement. It is so we can write in another sheet or as it in this sheet. So this is the one statement which we have written. We have to select this statement and this entire table. And we have to click enter. Um,
Looks like a problem. Wait, hold on. Let me handle it. 1 second. We just want to say where name is, let's say, instead of name, I think let us just go list the assets. Okay. Yeah, so this is the SQL query. Now you can automatically see here we have just created a query and automatically you have received the name and the parent. Now what else we have? We can get the closing balance also, right? So I want to let's say I want to get the closing balance. Now, so I want to get my name, parent, and also closing balance. You can see the closing balance. And also I want to give a condition where the closing balance is greater than 0. I want our closing balance not equal to 0. Okay. And closing balance is not equal to 0. Now you can see the balance, the query is started giving me results. So this is like a filter, right? So this is working like a filter. Now you want to make it dynamic. You can just make it dynamic. We can say here trial balance and closing balance. So I can also make this as a dynamic. I'll just set this instead of we'll start with yeah, liabilities. Yeah, and closing balance. Let's say closing balance not equal to 0. Right. So we are saying, so where trial balance is this, and closing balance not equal to 0. So I think I've inserted somewhere in between. Whether this if you whenever you are making certain things dynamic, you got to be very careful. After the end, there got to be a space. Now you can automatically see we got values. This has become now dynamic. You can also further add. I want only see debtors and creditors, where you can see this as primary group, right? You can further say the primary group is sundry creditors. See, you can once you know the art of the thing, you can further go anywhere. I want to see income, right? I just said now income is the word. Okay, there are incomes have looks like incomes balances are 0. There is nothing value which is having value in incomes. No problem. Now you can, once you find a query, you can add further subqueries to it, and you can add more value to the data. Yeah. So hope you got a clarity on how to write SQL query on the trial balance. Now we can add to the next level. We'll take the trial balance to the next level. We'll take the daybook and work on it. Tarun, can you take the daybook?
Okay, sir.
Tarun, I'm not getting your voice.
Sir, it is audible, sir?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I'm doing some changes in daybook, sir.
Okay, no problem.
Sir, this is how we have to give a company name, which is in Tally, sir. Here we have to give. After that, we have to give a from date and to date. So I did that one. So I click on done. Sir, this is daybook data, sir. We have a column date, particularly what's the type, debit amount and credit amount, sir. So we'll change this name to daybook. This is TV. This is the data coming from Vitality itself, daybook. Can I load, sir?
Yeah, audible.
Can I load, sir, this one?
Yeah, please go ahead. No?
This is the data which is extracted from Tally. So we are going to write any SQL queries. For example, particular name, or we'll take third one, which is copy paste this one.
One due care member should be noting that the field names should not have a space. So if you have a space, again, you got to put it under inverted commas and copy it. So for the ease of now, we're just putting it. So now, like how we have done for the others, the same way we are doing. In fact, Mr. Anand was asking, can you explain writing SQL from the beginning? It is nothing. Firstly, in the earlier session, we have shown how we will be installing the SQL thing. Maybe those who have not attended the earlier session, you can watch the recording. Generally, after a couple of days, the recording gets uploaded of how to install the Python library relating to SQL. Now, writing an SQL is simple. It's a select star from this, and you'll get the report, which is there in the Tally also. Tarun, can you just go to Tally?
Okay, sir.
Control N. Select star from ledger. Do not press enter. Everyone can see on the left side bottom of the screen. He has typed something. Select star from ledger. Press enter now. Automatically now a query has run. Tally is giving you some information about all the ledger master. I'm not sure how much data in this. I should have requested only say name 1, name 2, and name 3, like how we do in the Power Query. So if you have a Tally, you can write a query something like that. So SQL means you want to select ABC from a table. Now we'll go back to Excel and see how this is coming. Just go back to Excel, please. Now what we have, what we want is, I want the ledger name, the debit amount, where the voucher type is payment. So I'm extracting all the voucher type where the voucher type is payment, and I'm extracting it. So select particulars name, debit amount, where the voucher type from A. A is the table set. So that is what we are going to set it now. Now, can you just put it as under SQL query? Is equal to SQL, open the bracket, select your query, and the next attribute, where is the database? Select the data. Yeah, that's it. Voucher type, you payment, there are no double quotes. After voucher type in the query, so by the way, SQL query, you need to have basic understanding how to, the syntaxes, how we will have to write. Why did you delete that?
No.
What's going wrong, Tarun?
Sir, once I will
Yeah.
select.
Okay.
Syntax A is wrong. Here we get a answer.
Give me a moment. Let me fix the query. Hope the screen is visible. Let me hide and reduce the size. Okay. Now I'm picking all the voucher type as payment, or let's say purchase. So you will right now, you'll be seeing, you can automatically see, okay, in case of purchase, I should also give here credit amount. Let's get that. And as I said, SQL writing syntax is important. You can't have space. If you are having a space, you got to put it in a double quotes. So I want debit amount, credit amount. Now you can see for purchases, whatever the purchases I have paid, made to different vendor, passed through journals. These are the purchases that I have done. Then I can do order by, sort the data. Like as we have seen the various conditions we can also include that. Now people also want to see a related party transactions. So for the related party, for this party, whatever I have done, let me also include the voucher type for our understanding. And I will add voucher type. Okay, so now let us say I will pick this name, whatever, I don't know how many transactions are there, but let us just pick this, and it is voucher type, could be anything, but I want the name as I want the name as this. The exact name of that should be the particular's name. Instead of voucher type, I'm mentioning it as particular's name. Now you can see for this party, there were, so if assuming you are doing an stat audit and you also have to do a related party disclosure, you can say for the, from this party, you have made so much purchases during the year and so much payments during the year. You can just put it you are working. So again, as I said, this is a beginning. Once you start exploring, you will get multiple things that you want to do. And this query can be made dynamic. Like in the earlier thing I have shown you, logic 1, logic 2, you can use any logical operator and or. Those every organization will have some of the IT person. You can ask the IT person, and can I create subset? We call this as join, inner join, outer join. I am not going to take those sessions, that would become little high for everyone. The way in Microsoft Excel works, you apply a filter, like for example, as you are seeing here, you apply a filter called, I'm picking one payment. You have applied a filter called payment. Second, you can further apply a filter called some party name. Third, you can apply one more filter name. So you can multiple filter the data and get the results. This is what you can create a result set. Then you apply one more join to it. So either it could be a left join or right join. So because you got to, whenever you are joining two tables, there should be a common variable which can be correlated. So you can build your reports. These we call as customized dashboards. If you are using a Tableau or SAS or any other applications, those applications have Intuit reporting where you can drag and drop and put your filters. Now you may say, okay, this is looking very complicated stuff. Why are we doing so much of struggle? Now let me explain you the struggle for it. Okay, by the way, is this data real-time connected? Okay, this is could be a different tally. Is that so? There's a change that happened. Mega Limited. Okay, let's edit this query and always use the advanced editor so that you can get a detailed way wherever something went wrong, where it went wrong, you can see. Yeah, so this is something else. Mega Limited. Yeah, okay. Done. And you can see the data gets refreshed. On the right side of this, you are seeing the various steps that have been applied. This is what generally the Power Query happens, where what all it is doing, it will show the sequentially it will be showing. Since I have broken the query and replacing with something else, the new data is coming. Now I'm just saying close and load. And here is what I will explain you, that the advantage. Refresh. Oh, it's running in the background. Yeah. Bottom left side of the screen, you can see the refresh query is running, and allow it for some time to get the data refreshed. the advantage, as I said, what is the advantage of having this? I think this got broken. Yeah, so this got broken, we can reconstruct. Now, what's the advantage of it? Like how I have made it dynamic? What happened to that file? We just sometime back. Is that file sheet closed?
Yes.
Okay, nevertheless, anyhow, we have seen the data that being dynamic. So the advantage of this would be once the query is run, and this can be used as your management dashboard. You can write as many queries as you want, each query into a separate identifiable placeholder, and just that can be emailed on a regular basis. All that you have to do is just give a right click and refresh the table. That's all it would take for someone to write a query and understand, right? So there are some of the questions that have come in the chat box. Let me take those questions. Give me a moment. Let me go back to my desk. Okay, sorry. Again, we finance professionals getting convergence to the technology, it will take challenge. It takes time. And on top of it, by the way, the presentations are done by my team, so they are a little nervous and they are learning. And I encourage them to present because knowledge should not always reside only with me. It's when they do. And in fact, I expect the articles clerks who are actually doing the work, they should be technocrats, because they are the 90% of the work is done by them. So if they are equipped enough doing a work better, I feel is like the quality of the work would enhance. Likewise, we finance professionals, we are giving qualitative input to the management who will take the decisions in a timely manner. Now, if we spend a lot of time in preparing the reports, then where is the timely information? A report is something which should be available instant. That is where we should start using Power Queries and the reports on an instant basis. Okay. Anand is asking, can we use one AND condition in the query? Yes, we have used one AND condition in the trial balance query. Assets and closing balance not equal to 0. Like that we can do. Can we use with the debit value or credit value with the more than some amount? Yes, of course. I want to see all the line items, or let's say all the receipts more than 2 lakhs. Because cash receipts more than 2 lakhs, I have a liability. Or cash payments more than 10,000. One query. Like this, you can build how many queries, how many hour queries you want. It is just one time effort in building, but yes, you can build it. And for some of you, if you have missed our sessions are recorded. And since these are the paid sessions, the sessions gets uploaded to the YouTube at a later point in time. So users will be able to go to our website, vnvca.com, and also watch the sessions. Or you can go to our YouTube handle, and you can watch subscribers, Venu and Vinay Chartered Accountants, you will be able to look at there. In either case, all that I always say is keep upgrading yourself, attend the sessions, learn bit by bit. Do not expect you to get dumped with too much of the information, and do not try to get more about this much knowledge. How do we use it? Definitely not possible, difficult. So hence, I would always recommend that please get the updates regularly. We have also a YouTube channel where you can subscribe. Let me just share my screen. Yeah. So in our website, on the right corner, you can see the YouTube handle of ours. You can watch the videos of our earlier sessions. So whatever the earlier sessions which we have on various topics, GST, RERA, and everything, those sessions would be there. And we have a GST WhatsApp community group. You can also be part of our WhatsApp updates, wherein we regularly share about, we definitely don't spam, but we share about what are the latest things that are happening on GST, 1 or 2 updates a day. Yeah. With this, we have come to end of today's session, and I thank each and every one of you for being here. And special thanks to Jagadish for putting up all of the presentation. Thanks Ashika for the guidance, and thanks Tarun for trying an effort. And of course, mistakes would happen. It will take time to get the results. And members, I would request you to now start using the Power Query and start writing. And wherever you need help and assistance, feel free to write to us. We are here to support you. Before we close, if you have any questions to ask, I'm here for some more time. You can ask. Okay, there being no questions, we can conclude. To all the participants, you will get a feedback link about how the session went for you. Feel free to give a feedback, and also let us know what are all the new sessions that you would want to know more about us. We will include that in upcoming sessions. After you submit your feedback link, there is a link to download the materials. So copy of the today's presentations will be there, which you can download for your practice and understand the whole of the presentation made by Jagadish. That would be available. With this note, we will end today's session. Thank you, everyone.